If you feel like ClickUp sucks for you in 2026 and you feel like it's just complete mess inside ClickUp and you wonder how to make it work for your team and for your company, then this video is for you. My name is Ilya and I've spent the last 6 years helping companies implement ClickUp. I'm actually doing work as a ClickUp setup specialist. I used to be project managers for a couple of teams. I used to also do operations management job. I'm not gonna lie to you, I've seen both sides of the coin. I've seen companies being extremely successful with ClickUp, meaning that their teams loved ClickUp and they were using it day to day. It was basically becoming that single source of truth platform for them where they can log in at the beginning of the day, see whatever needs to be done for the day, and then the leadership team has that high-level overview of what's happening in the company. And I've also seen examples of projects where it just completely failed. And again, I was part of those projects myself. I was leading those implementations, and I've done some mistakes that I want you to do with your ClickUp implementations, and this is why I'm recording this video. Before I jump into a couple of secrets that I want to share about how to make ClickUp successful for your company and how to transform it from like a mess into a very structured and organized platform and a single source of truth platform for you and your team, I want to tell you a quick story about two companies that I worked with. One company was a short-term rental company, and this was a young couple, and they built business. Business is quite successful right now. They've scaled over the last years dramatically. You know, they manage properties and they rent them out on Airbnb and other platforms. And they basically, in the last 3 years, I think they grew like from being like 20 properties company to owning or managing hundreds of properties, or at least 100 plus properties, I should say. And what I found is that was the example, a perfect example of a successful ClickUp implementation. I've got a great experience working with them, and we've been working for a couple of years now, and I saw how they kind of use ClickUp and what did we do to make that ClickUp implementation successful. And I want to say that one of the biggest things that they've done, and this kind of you're going to see in the secrets that I'm going to cover in a second, is that they first of all understood and learned the platform. So everyone on their team knows how to use ClickUp, which is some basic things of like what is the task, how to use the task. But they also, one of the most interesting things that they've done is that also they empowered their team to drive the change. Right? They empower their team to become the main kind of the driver of the change in their company, so that not only ClickUp expert or project manager or ClickUp consultant drives these changes from the outside of the organization, but they actually empowered the team so that they became successful with their ClickUp journey. And again, that's one of the examples of a very successful implementation I wanted to share with you. On the other hand, I had a very unsuccessful project, which was a solar company. We had worked for a couple of months, right? We're trying to implement ClickUp for their sales process, and they were building ClickUp around the email outreach system that they had, and again, trying to basically sort of like a CRM system, which was very specific for their case. It was not successful, and I want to tell you that one of the biggest things that I realized why it was not successful is because the team was not invested at all. So they didn't really kind of invest enough effort, enough time, enough thoughts into this system. Even though I built something, I presented it to them, and I said, you guys, you're ready to go. It didn't go anywhere. So here are like two different projects. Basically, one was extremely successful, another one was a complete failure. Both of them I led. So again, that's my honest story. That again, that was my success as well as that company's success with the short-term rental business, as well as my failure with the solar company that we built in ClickUp. So we're coming to the three secrets that I want to share with you that I've learned from these two projects and many other projects, either successful or unsuccessful. And I want to start with the secret number one. Secret number one is, as I mentioned before, from the short-term rental business use case that I've learned, is that the first thing that you need to do is to learn the basics of ClickUp. Whether it's you implementing ClickUp or your team members, I highly recommend everyone getting acquainted with the platform, getting to know some basic features and getting to understand kind of the basic functionalities of the platform, just to understand if it's the platform that you're looking for really in your business, right? If you really need that platform, because many people see ads whenever you see them like on YouTube or Google that advertise ClickUp like, oh, it's a great platform, it has AI features and this features, but you don't really realize what is the basic functionality that you're going to be using in ClickUp. So before you jump into implementing anything, I highly recommend, again, watching some YouTube videos, going and just registering free account, clicking through the tool, just to make sure that ClickUp is the right tool and the type of the tool that you're actually looking for. And again, with the solar energy company that I mentioned the use case to you, which was complete failure, again, they didn't really invest time into learning the platform, learning the basics. So they didn't understand what to expect from the platform. So that was, again, the hard lesson that I learned. And again, the successful use case, people, again, actually spend some time learning the platform, learning basics. So I highly encourage you to do that. The second secret that I've learned from this project that I've had is that before you build something, or I should say while you're building something, you should try to make ClickUp work the way you work, not try to do it the other way around. And again, in comparison to the two of those projects, one of them successful, another one unsuccessful. In the successful projects, what I realized is that the main driver of change was not a specific feature or functionality in ClickUp, but it was rather how do we do work and how can we make ClickUp support the way we do work. And again, that company was already growing. They knew what they were doing. So it was not like, we need to figure out how to do our stuff. No, you're already professional in what you do. You probably do it well enough because you have some growth, right? You're growing your company. So you should just keep doing what you're doing. But ClickUp should be supporting the way you're doing it, not forcing you to change the way you do things into how ClickUp tells you to do it. And again, sometimes I see this happening, and that basically happened with the solar energy companies because they didn't realize what the process was. And I should say, I didn't actually kind of force, or not force, but took care of this, and we didn't really have enough time to realize what's the way of doing things correctly, and then trying to align ClickUp with that. What we did was we built ClickUp system and we said, all right, this is the new way of doing things. Let's now force the whole team of doing the way we build it in ClickUp. Didn't work, failed completely. On the other hand, again, when we prioritize processes, as I like to say, over product, again, it was a great success with the short-term rental company. So remember this secret number 2 and make sure that you make ClickUp work the way you do work, not the other way around. All right, jumping into the third secret that I've learned from this project. Instead of just driving the change yourself, many times it can be a business owner or an operations manager or the director of operations who is driving this kind of changes, again, because these are more like an operations constraints, right, or project management constraints. So most of the time that person becomes or drives the change, right? They become the only driver of the change, or sometimes even the person from the outside of the organization becomes that main driver for the improvements in the company. So as I mentioned to you in the short-term rental example, which was in great success with the ClickUp system, what they did is they did a very smart thing, and I kind of, again, we did this together even without me realizing that we were doing this, is that we empowered the team to drive the changes from within the organization. So what happened is we did the first project. I basically taught the team on how to use the framework and how to implement ClickUp for any process in the company. And if you've seen my videos before, I highly recommend people following the process first implementation framework, which basically says prioritize the process over product. So this is our secret number 2 that we've learned before. But what happened is we're not only prioritizing process over product, but we're helping our team learn the framework so they can apply it in every aspect of the business. And this becomes the game changer because it's not only about the single person who is driving the changes or driving the improvements, right? And saying, hey, we need to improve this and improve that. It's about that awareness in the company, in the team, that they know how to implement the changes, they know how to come up with ideas for the changes, and they can suggest those changes again without holding anything back. So that's, I think, one of the biggest secrets that I've learned is not only trying to tell people what to do, but actually giving them the tools and the framework so they can come up with those ideas. And I've seen an amazing result with that successful use case that I've shared before, where team members who were not really involved into whole initiative became extremely involved into, producing different ideas for new automation ideas in ClickUp or for new systems, improving processes, improving other parts of the work that they were doing that I was not even aware of. And they would just come up and say, like, hey, Ilya, I think we should do it this way. Like, do you agree? And I would say, yeah, it's a great idea. Go ahead and implement it. So again, they just became the driver from within instead of trying to drive it from without. So this is basically the third secret. And again, I've learned this the hard way, and I'm sharing this in this video so that you don't have to learn this hard way for your company. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the secrets. And again, if you have any questions, post them in the comments below. I want to say that I have some free materials to help you with those steps that I mentioned in the video, in the descriptions to this video, so you can access them for free. There is some ClickUp training. There is some PDF documents that you can download and learn about the process first implementation framework. So if you want to access that, click the links in the description below. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope to see you in the next video soon.